Hello everybody, I hope you're having an amazing day. Today is Tuesday after our long weekend. So we actually did have a really long weekend in Australia. I think it was Labor Day weekend. So the weekend that's just passed, I had Saturday, Sunday and the Monday doing a music festival. So I thought, look, I do have some information about the conference, but this is mostly about the festival. And if you sort of want to do festivals or marketing events and things like that, hopefully this will give you some insight and a couple of things that you can actually do to do these music events. It's really important if you sort of want to do these big events, because big events mean extra money, doesn't it? And so on. Now, I did this event not for myself, but I actually did it for my daughter, Emily, who just had a baby. So I actually ran her store, drove up there and so on. So we're going to go through a few things if you're doing an event to consider, because it's really important to consider all of these things. Some events may not be for your business and some may be. So, it's really important just to do a bit of a total on how the event's going to work for you and your business and so on. And thank you for the thumbs up, my loves. If any of you want to give me a thumbs up, of course you can. And do make sure you comment, because I'll always answer you back if you have a question later on. And now, for anyone wanting a ticket for the conference, I've already put the link in the description, which you'll see later when I load it. But now let's first talk about, like I said, vending at really big events. So this particular event, my daughter did this event last year as well. I also worked at this event with her, and it was actually called the Port Fairy Folk Music Festival. So each year, this has been running for about 25 years or something. They have a huge music festival, and then they have a festival in the street where, they have lots of vending events. So people that are candle makers, soap makers, earring makers, clothing, a lot of people make different sort of produce, jams and things like that. So anyway, they have them on two streets. So they have to block off the streets and then you bring your cars in. But it's not like a normal market. The big reason is obviously at a music event, you have thousands and thousands of people. So you have more people coming through. And if you think about it this way, people that are going to an event, it's like a holiday for them. So they've saved up their money and they're willing to buy things. And I find sometimes at markets, people are more just having a look around. It's a day out. But when people are paying hundreds of dollars to be at a music festival, they clearly, organize this throughout the year and they're willing to spend money. So, you're going to obviously sell more things at these big events. So now there's a couple things to consider. Number one, and this sounds really silly, but you need to consider the weather. With these particular things, the weather can be crazy. Like this weekend when we did it, the weather was about 44 degrees Celsius, which is about 108 Fahrenheit. So it was huge hot weather. Many people collapsed, including myself. How embarrassing. But, and this is what happens because you get dehydrated. The weather can be just really horrible when it's really hot in Australia. We have such high hot winds. And of course, this is by the bay. So, when it's near water, near the bay, you're getting that salt heat as well, and it really does affect you. And the funny thing is, a lot of people that collapsed were not young; they were older people. So that's the thing. So when you're doing these big events, you need to have sunscreen. You have lots of water. You need to bring food because food's so expensive. Otherwise, you end up spending $200 just on food. And for this particular event, this runs for 3 days. So what actually happens is, you've got your tent, your marquee. And then basically what you're going to do is you're going to put your whole tent or your gazebo up, and then you're going to pull that down again at the end of the day. And next day you've got to put it up again and so on. So it is very stressful, and it is a lot of work. It's a lot of physical work putting the tents up and down the whole time because it is in the street, like I said. So the first thing you got to consider is the weather. Can you handle that? Sometimes it can be windy. Like the last day that we did it, it was so windy. We had to pack down early because the gazebos were just lifting up. And the gazebo I had, or for many of you overseas that tell me they don't call it a gazebo, I think you call it a tent or a marquee. Most of them in Australia are called gazebos, and that means basically, your tent that you're going to work under. So we had a really big marquee. It was, you know, I think it's like 6 meters wide or something like that. It's quite big. So anyway, obviously we needed to put that up. But anyway, it started lifting. So we panicked a bit with that and had to close down the second one. And also, some of these events have like a heat restriction. So if it gets too hot, they close them down. They just say, okay, it's too dangerous, and so on. So, and you can pay anything from $300 for these events right up to $7,000 for these events. I've talked about this before when my daughter did the Royal Melbourne Show, and I think that's around 5,000 or 6,000 to be a vendor at those events. The same as if you're doing a trade sort of fair. They're in the thousands as well. So it is not cheap, but usually you do get your money back or a lot more. And, you know, look, one year we took 5,000 or 6,000. Another year we might take 3,000. So another year we might take 23,000. So you never know with the money. You just have to be prepared that you may not take as much as you want to take at these events. And now another thing people ask me is, what kind of stock do you need to take? You need to take a lot of stock, because if you can imagine, like my daughter, she sells like mostly earrings and necklaces and kind of fun little things, you know, that very festival type things. And if you can imagine, a pair of earrings might be $10. Well, if you're going to sell, you know, $5,000 or $6,000 or $8,000, that's a lot of $10 necklaces or earrings. So you need to take hundreds and hundreds of pieces of products to these events. It's really important to make sure you got a lot of products to take. And if you're a candle maker, sometimes the candles do get ruined because it's hot. So that's really hard. You have to balance. Do you want to take them? Do you not? Maybe you want to take smaller ones that aren't as expensive, and so on, to these kind of events. So like I said, you know, this is sort of what you've got to think about in regards to stock. But I would take as much as you can fit in your van or your car. I do have a small Volkswagen Caddy, which is a van, and we filled it to the roof of stuff. And of course, you're not going to sell everything that's in that, but you know, if you don't have it, people don't want to come to a store that doesn't have many products because they get a bit nervous. So, but if there's lots of things, they feel free to look through things. And you know, can I tell you, at a festival, the best things that sell are things like, oh, sorry, I'm just taking things off the screen. Yeah, the best things that sell are like, oh, what do you call them? Like a lucky dip. You know, that's what it is. You know, like my daughter always has lucky dip. So it might be $3 or $5, and it might just be, you know, I don't know, a pair of earrings or a little necklace that you want to get rid of or something, and you wrap them up in tissue paper. And there's lots of kids that buy it, and they, you know, they never know what's inside it, but they love those things because that's a very festival type thing to do. You know, it's just a few dollars, and it might actually help you get rid of some stock. I mean, of course, it has to be worthwhile for somebody to buy that, but that's the thing. Things like that, festival type things, are really good. Little things. It's no good bringing a massive candle this big. Nobody wants to carry that around a festival all weekend. So make sure they're smaller items that you're bringing to these things, and it's easier for you to stock it up in the car as well. So that's a little bit about that. Another thing to think about, which is really important, think about the distance. Now, when we went to this event, this takes 5 hours just from my home. So in the end, I ended up traveling 16 hours over the weekend. So it's a lot of hours to drive, and you just have to be prepared to go to these events. If I went to the events that are only close to me, I would never make any money. And that's the thing. Sometimes you have to be prepared to go a distance, but you also have to say, does this event suit me? Does it suit my products? There's no good going to a flea market or a really just discount cheap market and you've got $100 candle, because they're not your clients. You need to be realistic. Are these clients going to be for you? And if you think of a place like Port Fairy, it is a more expensive, luxurious place to live. It's very expensive to live there. You need well over $1 million to buy a home in Port Fairy. And that's the thing. You're going to have a lot of people that are going to have money that are willing to go to these places to spend. And, you know, so, you know, they're probably happy to spend $40, $50 a candle. They're not going to question that. So, and we never have a problem with anyone ever questioning a price of anything. So, and at those events, I always sell lots of like car diffusers and things like that. So that's a little bit about that, the distance. So like I said, be prepared to do that. And when we're talking about distance, that means, you know, you have to think about where are you going to stay? Are you going to stay in a caravan park or a motel? We usually stay in a hotel, and it's about $200 a night plus food. So you need to, if you think about it, with the petrol, the food, and everything, it costs us $1,000 just to do the event, plus paying for the fee of the event. So it's not cheap. So you really want to make a lot of money. You need to advertise yourself a lot as you're going along, and make sure your store is colorful, it's set up beautiful. There's no good making it set up and it doesn't look nice. And make sure you got ticket prices on everything. No one wants to ask how much it cost. And as I did say, my daughter does sell a lot of things like earrings, necklaces. I think we had a lot of t-shirts, tote bags, mirrors, things like that. And, you know, they always sell. So, but, you know, there's no good having a bright, colourful necklaces if your company is all nude colours and white, because it looks silly. It doesn't look cohesive. People want to go in your store and know if bone colours and white and plain minimalistic is their vibe, they don't want to go in there and see bright coloured blocks in there. So try and keep everything, you know, cohesive. Don't try and just do a money grab and put things in there because, oh, well, it might sell at a market. You still want to keep to your brand because people will remember your brand and come back. And, you know, make sure you have flyers and cards that people can take, and, you know, hopefully visit you back online, because that's the whole idea of these events, is making sure that people are going to come back and visit you. You want to try and get clients that are going to be returning clients, not just ones buying at these events. So like I said, we've talked about now the weather, the stock, the distance of traveling as well. And like I said, look at the event type. So like I said, if it's like a cheap market type look, and your products are expensive, it's probably not going to work. Or if your products are all $2 and $3 and, it costs thousands of dollars to be there, maybe that's not going to be your vibe either. So, you need to make sure that the event suits your products and suits your branding. It's really important, because, like I said, there's no good going to one that's just not going to suit your brand and no one's going to buy anything, because then you wasted your money too. And as I said, just the hotels and motels, staying away and traveling long distances to these events costs huge amounts of money. So it's really important when you're looking at doing these things. Now, look, we'll talk about this. Getting into the events is not easy. You don't just get in. You have to apply. You'll have to have a website so they can have a look at your website. They'll ask for social media. And so usually when you fill in the form, they will ask to, and a lot of them just online forms, but they'll want to know your website, your social media, your Instagram, Facebook. Do you have all of those things up and going? What does your stall setup look like? So if you've never done a market, you can even do a fake stall set up in your own home, set it all up so that you can have photos to send them, because they'll want to know what that looks like, because if you're not going to suit their vibe, then they won't want that there either. And some events will say you're welcome to come, but don't bring candles. We have too many candle people. Or don't bring such and such. We have too much of that. So that's the thing. You need to apply and see how that's going to work. Another thing I thought I'll talk about, which I didn't know before I started doing a lot of these street events, is you need a street pass. So what actually happens is their local council or their local government will close down the roads for 3 days, and then you need to apply for a street pass. So it's all a part of applying at these particular places. And it's a pass that will have all the information on it, and you need to stick it on your car or put it in your dashboard. If you don't have that, they won't let you drive your car in the street event. So basically the whole idea, before people come, you drive your car in early, you take all of your things out, you have 10 to 20 minutes, you take all of your things out, put them in your spot where you're meant to set up, then you remove your car, park your car away, and then you can come back and set up, and then at the end of the day you've got to go back and get your car and bring it back in again. So I really think you need 2 people at these events, not just one. It's very hard with one person, otherwise you're leaving your things there. So like I said, that's how it works. You need to apply for all of that. You need to print out lots of different things. So it's quite a process, and a lot of these places, they'll actually do this 6 months in advance. So, and with my daughter, because she does a lot of these events, sometimes she will have 20 events booked up. That means she needs to prepay for 20 events. And it might be $10,000 she's paid or more to do all these events before she's made money. But usually, you make money from one and then you'll put some of that towards the next one to pay, and so on. And I think if you're doing a big event, you really, for me, like these events, you want to take $2,000 a day. I think that's realistic, to take at least 2 a day. And generally that's usually what we would take. So some days you have better days, other days you have really bad days, and you might take less than 1,000 even. So, you just got to be prepared to lose. You may not always make money at these events. And if you don't, you just know maybe it's not for you, and maybe a different event. You got to try that out. And that's the thing. Doing these events is hard. And a lot of people at these events, it's their full-time job. They go from one event to another. And literally that's what my daughter does. That's her full-time job, just going to markets and different events. And that's how she actually makes her money. So that's how you get into those things. Like I said, we've talked about the street pass that you'll need. You need to take money. And now we'll talk about money and internet in one go. Because at some events, like Port Fairy has really bad internet. So if you've got Vodafone, you're not going to pick up internet at Port Fairy. You're just not. So, and then that makes it hard when you've got like a square machine, because often you can't. And then people have to take cash. And in a lot of these towns, they might not even have a bank. Like there's not even a bank there. There's an FPOS machine there, but not a bank. So then, you have to really tell your customers, please take cash with you, because if your machine doesn't work, you've got a problem. Like if you're with a bigger company like Telstra or something with your phone in Australia, that's probably going to pick up and you can use your square machine. So it does make it a bit more tricky. So you need to have a lot of cash, coins and change to be able to give people as well. Like I said, if you've got a square machine or an FPOS machine, take it, but just remember that sometimes the internet may not pick up. You need to have a second option of what you're going to do. So what we actually do is we have a sign, and the sign has our internet detail, not internet, it has our bank transfer details, so that they can just transfer directly into the bank. And then they show us they do it there on the spot, and then they show us the transfer. And look, sometimes you lose sales if your machine's not working, but it's just the way it is. So, we're used to that. It's been a couple of years at this event, and each year is the same. So, like I said, you just have to be prepared for that. And you've got to be honest and tell people we just can't pick up the internet, and that's why we're at this kind of stage. So, so that was something that was really interesting, and we'd never had that before where we couldn't pick up the internet. But like I said, when you're going to these events that far in the country, or they're, right up on hills, or, on a mountain or something, sometimes it just happens. We just can't get the internet. So try all these different ones. And the way you find them is you just Google them. Just Google events, market events, fair events, music, festival events, vendoring events. I mean, there's so many. Just, Google's your friend. And that's how my daughter's found them. She's literally Googled. And if you ask somebody else that maybe is a soap maker, candle maker, a jewelry maker, a lot of them will not tell you, because they've done a lot of work to find these, so they don't want to give out that information, because it is competition for them. That's the truth. And, they don't want you sort of taking the spot. I mean, you can also do trade events, trade fairs, where you set up all of your things in a massive big building. That's the next thing you can do as well for these vendoring events. But everything you do comes back to your branding. If your branding doesn't look good, or, you just got them all just shoved in boxes on the table, no one's going to buy that. So you need to make sure you at least have some nice clear containers so it's easy for them to see. Lots of products. So people love at these events, they love just sort of searching through different containers to see what they can buy. That's the one thing I've noticed, that they go, oh yeah, they love it. And there's no good if you buy a ring for 20 cents and try and sell it for $10 because you think it looks like $10. You might only sell 3, but if you sell it for a couple dollars and you're making $2 on each one, well, then you're going to sell a lot more. So you've got to be a bit realistic about your price as well. Of course, you've got to make money, and you're not there to lose money, but You know, it's kind of one of those things. I always say that's an individual business's thing, how you want to do your thing, whether you want to sell in bulk or you want to sell less but earn more money. Just think about that. And like I said, with the weather, you know, these events, you've got to be prepared. If it's too windy, you've got to pack it down. It could rain and the whole event's ruined and you've lost your money. So many things to consider, but it's just the risk of doing this kind of business. And in Australia at the moment, it's very, very hot. So, you know, we've had some really, really hot days. So it was just unlucky that this event we did was super duper hot. So, like I said, I hope thinking about this, so we'll go over the things you need to think about when you're doing these big events. Like I said, you need to think of the weather, need to think of how much stock to take, you need to think of the distance you're going to travel and are you happy to travel, and that would also include accommodation you have to pay for. The event type, is it a market, a music festival, a trade event for wholesale, or, you know, they're all different. Are you going to be able to get in? You might not. You might need to apply for many of them before you get in. Like I said, you know, understanding the street licensing that you may actually need. And also have a look at lots of other things, such as things like, you know, your internet as well. So, you know, do you have internet? Do you have money? Do you have cash? Do you have people to help? You need to take a friend, whether it's often my daughter and myself go along. So maybe you can take mum or your daughter. This event we did because one of my daughters had her baby. My youngest daughter, who was 15, and myself did this event together for my other daughter. So you need someone else because you need to be able to go to the toilet. You need someone to pack up if you're really hot and you need to take a break, or you want to take 20 minutes for lunch. You just need another person to help you. There's no good trying to do it alone. You just can't. Please don't try and do these events by yourself. I really think you need other people. And like I said, have a look at other stalls as well. How many tables are you going to take? What are you going to do for these events? It's really important to think about all those sort of events. So, like I said, that's what we're doing for today. So I hope that helps. I did say I'll talk about the conference for a minute. So with the Australian Soaping and Candle Conference, if you're coming to that, make sure you got your tickets, because 9 o'clock tonight we are going to cut them off and there'll be no more tickets for 2024. And if you want to have the major discount that we're going to be giving for 2025 for our Brisbane conference, go onto the website now. It will be in the description as well. And then you can grab your ticket for that, because $100 off until tonight, 9 p.m. tonight, Australian Eastern Standard Times. If you're coming to the Australian Soaping and Candle Conference, you can buy an online ticket if you're in another country, and you'll be able to get a link to watch it back many, many times. But once again, you know, the cutoff is tonight at 9 p.m. There'll be workshops, there'll be some local and some international speakers. We try our best every single year to get all the speakers, and that's all we can do is try. We really do try, honestly, so hard to be able to help all of you in small business. This is what I set this up for. I didn't set it up to make money for me. I don't make money out of this. I actually honestly did this just to help small business, because I wish there was one I could have gone to. And it's, you know, it's just a small business one. You don't have to be a big business. Maybe you're going to be new. Oh, you've got your ticket and you can't wait. Lovely. Oh, thank you, Leanne. That is so good. I'm really happy. I know a lot of people are really excited this year about coming along. You can speak to all the speakers, because we only make this a small event. There's never more than 90 people in that room. So this year is probably the busiest we've going to be. There is quite a lot of people coming. And for 2025, if you want to buy a ticket for that, that will be happening in May in Brisbane. We're moving it to Brisbane, and the year after, possibly Sydney. But we will, it's not 100% set in stone for Sydney. But at the moment, like I said, 25 will be in Queensland. It's $100 off, and you will get a $100 bag that we are in the process of getting made. And you'll get that on the day. But it's only for the first 25 people in Brisbane, because unless we can get more of these bags made, but they're very expensive to get made. So anyway, and we will also put on an accommodation deal for anyone that wants the deal for accommodation. But like I said, that's, you know, we'll just see what we can do. But there'll only be 10 accommodation deals for Queensland. We're not going to get more than 10 because we had to pay for so many to get the deal for that. Anyway, I hope to see you guys all at the conference. Think about investing in your business. That is what a conference is all about. Without doing that, you're just going to sit on the couch hoping it's going to work. So unfortunately, a business is not for free. It does cost money. It costs a lot of time and a lot of love and passion that goes into it. It's taken me years to get to the stage that I'm at now. It's been over 4 years. So please don't lose hope. If money's tight, you're not selling a lot, it's taken me a long time to actually sell products. So anyway, love yourself too, friends, and just know you're doing the best that you can possibly do. Anyway, I'm going to see all of you lovelies on the next video. Bye, friends.